everybody, welcome to Superhuman Customs. I'm Stephen Human. If you're just joining us for the first time, on this channel I just customize action figures. I want to have fun, I want you guys to have fun. Sometimes I produce stuff that's absolutely amazing, other times it's just shy of garbage, but that's okay because we're learning and we're having fun, and that's what I hope you guys get out of this. And today we're going to do something that I wasn't planning on. I got this Batman, the Snyder Batman, for Christmas. And I had this Batman, we customized him before, and as you can see, I've already switched their heads. So I got him, and I liked this head better. So what I did is I heated him up in some hot water and I pressed it a little bit, and he looks a little bit more like Ben Affleck. The face is not quite so thin. But in any case, I like this body better and I like this head better. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna work on both these characters today. I'm going to darken up this guy, do a little bit of detail work. On this guy, we're gonna take what I already did with the custom, but we're going to make him slightly blue, which in the movie, in the Flash movie, he was slightly blue. He had more of a classic blue look, which was kind of cool. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna work on both these guys today. So let's dive in and have some fun.
Before we get to painting this guy, one of the things I did not like when I did this was how the cape kind of hung up here. I wish I had done it underneath, but I'd never done it before. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a little bit of fabric paint. I'm just gonna try and thicken up around here so that it looks like it comes in a little bit thicker. And I don't do this much anymore because I've been using the Milliput, but with this one I think just having some thicker lines here, and since we're going to be painting the cape a blue anyway, it will help to make it look like it just comes over his shoulders. And I think that looks much, much better. So not perfect, but it does look better already.
I'm going ahead and testing the blue that I want to use, which is just my metallic blue here on the back of the cape, just to see kind of how it looks. And because I want it to stay dark, and so I want to do a lighter coat, and I think going with the metallic is going to give me that. So we'll test it here and then see how it looks everywhere else. Maybe go up on the neck. It's looking all right. And so I'm just going to go on the head a little bit and on the neck here, because I really did give it that dark blue that they kind of had in the movie. Very muted. So I think this is what I'm going to do. Stick with this metallic and give it that look. See, it's just giving it that muted blue. I think this will work. Now I want to more or less match the texture of the cape with these extra areas that I added with the fabric paint. Now since the fabric paint dries plastic, I'm just going to take this X-Acto knife and I'm just going to cut in lines and go through and just try to make it match as close as possible to the cape. These sorts of things just help so that when you look at a glance, it looks right. And that's what we want. We don't want anything to stand out unnecessarily.
Now it didn't really work when I was cutting in here because of the fact that the fabric paint is so rubbery. And I realized that the more I rely on the fabric paint, the worse things kind of turn out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue in place some Milliput here. And we're going to do it on both sides. And I'll cut it so that it fits. But this will allow me to fix that. I'll be able to cut and gouge in and make it look like the rest of the cape. And it's going to end up looking much better. I want these guys to look awesome. I mean, they're great Batmen. And so I'm willing to go the extra mile with this. And the more I work with Milliput, the more I realize it's what I should be using for things like this. While the Milliput's drying on the other Batman, we're going to go through on this one and we're going to darken him up. Now the cowl matches pretty well down here on the neck, but I want to just make sure that it fully matches. And then we're going to go through on all of this. And we're going to go through fairly thickly because I want to get it darker and then I want to go over it with more of a silver. Just lightly, because I want this guy to look a little bit more, I don't know, I really liked the suit in Batman v Superman. I like the animalistic look. And I know that McFarlane is coming out with they've teased a Batman v Superman Batman. And you know, that's one that I definitely want, but it's not out yet, and I have this guy. So I am going to keep him a Justice League version, but I just want these to match a little bit more, and I want it to have a more weathered look.
Before we go into the blue, I just want to match this with the dark gray. So I'm just going through with a simple craft paint light coat and let this dry, and then we'll go over it with the blue. And you can see the texture has worked pretty well. It matches the cape really closely. And so this was a good choice. The longer I've been doing this, the more I realize that sometimes when I do just quick things like that with the fabric paint or something along those lines, that it just doesn't give me the end result that I'm after, and I need to take more time. And so this is a perfect example of doing that, and I feel much better about this and how this looks in using the Milliput to match it. Since a lot of this Batman is a dark gray, I've decided on some of these straps to go through with a straight black and see what kind of contrast we can create. Because that's the main issue, in my opinion, with this Batman, is that there's not a lot of contrast. He's got kind of the metal areas, and then everything else is a really kind of a solid gray. So I think we'll see. I mean, obviously when it's wet, you can tell that they're black. When it dries, I'm not sure. So let's just run an experimentation on here and let's see. Because you guys know me, you've been watching the channel enough to know that I like contrast, and subtle contrast is king. And so I'd like to add these and see what we can make it look like. Right now it looks pretty good with the black, and hopefully that's what we'll get when we go through all of these straps. All right, let's go through and match this now. Now that it's all dry, go through and get this blue in. And then we're gonna do the same thing on the gauntlets here, just on the area around where the metal is, and then down here a little bit so that it can be slightly more balanced. Now I'm going to work on both these guys together with the silver. And we're just going to dry brush really lightly and hit these guys on the edges. And I'm just going to move from one to the next and move across. Nice and light. Because of the gunmetal gray that I had on here, it wasn't really, I don't know, it didn't add enough contrast. And I don't want it full on like super silver, but I want enough that it hits the edges. And this dry brush is what's going to give it to us. And already, big difference. Let's move over to this Batman a little bit and hit him up. Same deal. Oh, crud. See how I got some purple? Whoops. I accidentally, let's see if we write that up. I had a little bit of purple left over from another figure that I'm working on in here, and I must have hit it and got some purple on there. So if you're going to do that, catch it quick, because you don't want a purple Batman. Luckily, I caught that quick enough that I was able to get the purple off. Because I guess there is a Batman that has some purple on in the Rebirth Batman, but this is definitely not that Batman. I don't want purple on him. You can see how it catches things just right, makes them stand out. That's what we're going for. And now I just need to make sure to be careful so that I don't accidentally hit that purple that's still wet apparently in there. I've decided that the black did look good on the straps, but he has some like, I don't know, there's a different texture here like over his legs, and I'm going to paint it all black because I want to have more of a contrast here between, you know, just all this stuff going on. And I think doing that will add to the character. So I'm just going to go through that, and then I'm going to add some silver to some of these little buckles and things, and I think we're going to be in pretty good shape. So I'm just going through and I'm going to hit some of these buckles here just to add a little bit of detail. Not too much, just enough, because they do have, you know, a texture to them. And that'll add just a little bit of goodness here to these areas. I do like how it turned out with the black, You can tell that there's a difference, so it looks like a different material. While I got the silver, I'm also going to go through and hit some of these areas, some more of these edges, to make them stand out. Last thing I want to do with this guy is I want to yellow up his belt a little bit. So I'm just going to hit it with a little bit of gold. Start just by dry brushing it and just giving it that look. I've said before when working on Batman, I think I'd said it when working on that other one, that, you know, if Batman were a real person, I'm sure he would be in all black. You know, he wouldn't have a lot of different shades to him. Be pretty straightforward. He wants to hide in the dark. But from a design perspective, from an aesthetic perspective, breaking all of this up is important. It gives the eye something to kind of focus on. And so having this guy have even just a light gold, you know, showing that it's just a slightly different shade, it's going to go a long way to just making this guy visually appealing. A real world Batman wouldn't necessarily worry about that, but this isn't a real world Batman. This is my Batman.
There we go. 2 Batmen for the price of 1. I really like the head swap on these guys, and just by doing the wash, I was able to match this guy pretty perfectly. And then doing the blue, same thing here. I didn't care for the head sculpt on this one or on this one, and now swapping them out, I like them each quite a bit. Let's go ahead and take a look at them individual with the side-by-side shots, and you can really get a feel for how different they look from the original. Some of it's subtle, but in my opinion, they turned out really nice. So there you go, double the Batman, and this was a lot of fun. So if you get these guys, play around. I really like that this one's very different now with the blue, and yeah, good Batman stuff. Thank you guys for watching. Remember to check out my website, stephenhuman.com, for my novels, as I'm a sci-fi thriller novelist. If you like Twilight Zone and that sort of stuff, check out the books. And I'll be here every week with a new custom, so I will see you then.